Okay, to figure out how to do PST journal entries, we need to know what it's charged on. So PST is charged on all goods and services with some key exemptions. The biggest one is if goods are resold to another customer, we don't pay PST. Second, restaurants and food, bikes, kids' clothing, and medical supplies and prescriptions. There's a few more, but those are the key ones that don't charge PST. Now, what's complicated is that every province is different. BC, we have sales tax of 7%, same as Manitoba, and that's on top of the 5% federal GST. Alberta, no sales tax. They do have the GST though, and Ontario and several other provinces, they combine it into something called HST, Harmonized Sales Tax. And that becomes one rate for both the provincial and the federal sales tax. So first of all, if we're doing journal entries, if it doesn't say otherwise, assume the transactions are in BC and we have a 7% provincial sales tax. Let's take first transaction. We buy a cash register for our store, paying $200, and we have to pay both taxes, and it's a total of $224. So for this transaction, we need to start with getting which accounts are changing. Now, a cash register, I'm going to call it equipment, and we're going to put that in as a debit. We are adding to our assets. Second thing is we are paying GST, but it's going to be refunded when we actually do our paperwork. So that is another asset. I'm going to put it separately. Notice that there's no PST. The PST actually becomes part of the asset or expense if that's the case. So in this case, we only have GST refundable. Finally, cash. So if we're going to enter in the numbers, the equipment is not $200. We have to add in the PST to this amount. So it'll be $214. 7% of 200 is $14. GST refundable, 5% of 200 is $10. And cash is the total amount we paid for everything, $224. So keep in mind, PST, when we buy things as a business, goes into the asset or into the expense. Second transaction, we're going to sell clothing to our customers. We receive $300 and we are charging the customer 5% GST, 7% PST. The total we receive from the customer is $336. So I've set up the accounts here. We're receiving cash. We're receiving a total of $336 for everything. So I'll plug that in. Next up, GST is payable, 5% of $300 is 15. So I'll plug that in as a credit, like that. PST, same thing, 7% of 300, $21. And revenue is before the taxes are charged, will be $300. We can check our numbers. If we add these three credits up, it equals the debit, 336. A good sign that we've done it correctly. Now, at the end of the period, we have to figure out how to send the money to the government. Now, the provincial government, they actually pay us to collect for them. And this is called the Sales Tax Commission. So each province is different. Let's assume for this example, 2% of all sales tax we get to keep as a revenue. So if we are charging So in this case, we have $2,911 that we collected. 2% is going to stay with us, and the rest will be sent to the government. So I've set up the debit. Now, normally PST payable is a credit. To zero the account, to get rid of what we owe, we're paying it, so it's a debit. Cash, how much we're going to send, it's going to be a credit, and sales tax commission. So calculate 2%, and we get to keep 58.22. PST payable is going to be zeroed out. We have to take the full amount out, and the difference is what we pay the government. And if you've done it properly, they should add up to the original amount, the total PST payable. Quick explanation, remit PST minus 2% commission. Next up, 2 practice questions. Try these out, pause the video, and once you've done the questions, check the answer. So here we go. Depending on what accounts you used, uniforms could be an asset, but in this case, I used it as an expense. I'm thinking that we're giving it to the employees and we're not going to get them back. They can keep them, they can use them. GST refundable. And PST is included in the uniform expense. Notice that we paid $120 originally, but with PST, it's $128.40. Cash is the total amount, $134.40. In the second example, the total amount that the hospital is going to pay us is for the revenue, the cleaning services, $176, plus both taxes. All 3 credits must equal the debit.